For centuries, the church in Europe had been governed by the Pope from Rome. But John Wycliffe in Oxford had attacked the abuses of the church and called for the Bible to be translated from Latin into a language everyone could understand.
John Wycliffe was a 14th century scholar at the University of Oxford in England who had a passion for seeing the Bible in English.
Wycliffe is there. He's in many ways a trailblazer for at least English translation and English access to the Word of God in our own language.
The morning star before Tyndale, the beginning of the dawn now of Reformation light in England.
Institutionally, the Roman Catholic Church of that period, for various reasons, is set against this desire to have the Word of God available, accessible for the common man and woman.
Then the Roman Church hated all of that, and of course they took his body and they burned it to pieces, and they didn't want there to be any center where people could come on pilgrimages.
And then his ashes were dumped into the river Swift.
The river took the ashes into the sea, and it went across the seas and washed ashore finally in all the nations of the world, so that the truths that Wycliffe loved spread by his life and by his brave death to the nations of the world.
Later in 1526, William Tyndale's English translation of the New Testament reached England from Germany. It had been pronounced heretical in England, so copies had to be smuggled into the country, hidden inside bales of cloth. It wasn't the first Bible in English, but it was the first to be translated directly from the original Hebrew and Greek instead of from Latin. And it was the first to take advantage of the printing press.
Every river has to have its source, and the Puritan age really comes flowing out of the work of William Tyndale, who was a mighty champion for the Word of God.
It can be said, at least to some extent, that this nation became a people of the book, and that book was the Bible. And that, in large measure, is because of Tyndale, even though the book that people were reading was not known to be of Tyndale, at least until later on. Luther in Germany is doing there what Tyndale wants to do in England. He wants to bring the Word of God into the hands and hearts of the people of the country.
Tyndale was a graduate of Oxford and found his way in Cambridge for further study. We believe a part of the White Horse Inn, a collection of young men who were meeting to discuss Luther-like ideas. In fact, the White Horse Inn became known as Little Germany.
And Tyndale, I think you have to say, is to some extent following Luther, but breaking ground in his own territory. So Tyndale is betrayed on the continent, taken into captivity, and eventually sentenced to death.
His famous words were, "Oh God, open the eyes of the King of England."
That prayer is answered before very long, because Henry VIII, who has up to this point been Tyndale's great opponent in the work of the translation and the spread of the scriptures in English, actually fundamentally takes that translation and eventually endorses it, and that translation is the very one that makes its way into English church buildings.
William Tyndale left his native land. He went underground to the continent of Europe for 11 years. He never married. He was a one-man mission to get the Bible into the English language, and he would not be denied.
This is a man of courage. This is a man whose confidence is in God, and there's a holy fearlessness in the things that he says. Tyndale, again, is certainly part of that reforming Puritan stream, in that he is wedded to the glory of God, moved by the fear of the Lord, that frees him from the fear of man in large measure and enables him to pursue the glory of God regardless of his personal expense.